Jerry, thank you very much, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. To all intents and purposes, Troy is a single project company, that being the Karooni project in Guyana, which we acquired through the acquisition of Azimuth Resources in 2013. Troy bought, or thought it was buying, a modest resource of an average 4 grams per tonne gold to get started, but with significant exploration potential. So why is Guyana a good place to do business? Well, Guyanese people, they're part of the Caribbean community or the West Indies, so we play cricket with these guys. We know them pretty well. They're English speaking, they have an English parliamentary system, a modern mining act, and a very good fiscal regime. So we think it's a pretty good place to be doing business. So why is it a good place to find gold? Well, greenstones the world over can be well endowed with gold. Greenstone's a metamorphic rock, and there happens to be a very significant greenstone belt that runs across the top of South America and also into West Africa. And I think you'll be able to see some numbers there on the screen. We've got deposits of a size of 48 million ounces, 32 million ounces, some very, very substantial deposits. So what do we have here? This map is on a scale of around about 20 k's by 20 k's, and Troy's position is to the west here is more like around 10 k's by 10 k's. So Karooni Mill down the bottom there, that's our current existing mill where we're producing ore from both Smarts and Hicks. Very soon we'll be moving to produce ore from Spear Point and Larkin, but if I can draw your attention to Ohio Creek, Upper Ataki, Gem Creek and Gold Star, some very attractive exploration interests, which I'll get onto very shortly. This slide illustrates a couple of photos. In the top photo, our mill, nominal 1 million tonne per annum capacity, standard CIL and gravity circuit, and our Smarts pit in the photograph below. This slide provides a corporate snapshot, and if I can draw your attention firstly to the right-hand side. So the board includes Ken Nielsen and John Jones, two industry legends, Richard Beasley, who joined us last year, and Jerry Kazmarek, who joined mid-2017 at the same time as I joined. And it's interesting to note that the team of Ken, John and Jerry were responsible for Troy paying an aggregate $49 million of dividends over the period 1995 to 2008. So we feel we've put the band back together. The slide, the box at the bottom, the shareholder information. For those of you who don't know, RUFA is a UK institution. They participated recently in a small placement we undertook and are very supportive. So I'll now draw your attention to the boxes on the left-hand side. You can see we have shares on issue of 490 million odd. We're currently doing a share purchase plan. The current share price is 10.5 cents and market capitalisation around about 50 million. In year 2018, we produced 70,000 ounces for 116 mil of revenue and an AISC of 931 per ounce. And very pleasingly, our debt is now down to US 5.2 million. And if you look in that box in isolation, you might say to yourself, wow, these shares are seriously cheap. But that's not the whole story. Because if you look at the box below, you'll see that our ore reserves as at 30th of June 2018 were down to 120,000 ounces. So we're now 8 months on from that. And the mineral resources immediately below, although they're substantial, they're a very low grade. So we're going to need a higher gold price to profitably exploit them, or else blend them with higher grade ore. To understand how we got into this predicament of short mine life, it's best to reference a 3-year price chart to show what we've been through. So back here, we borrowed US 75 million from Investec to build the mill. And when things got going around about here, we realised we had some issues. What we thought was a 4 gram per tonne deposit, which we'd purchased, turned out to be 2.5 grams per tonne for reasons I won't go into. We subsequently undertook a 40 million cap raising. No sooner did we have a pit wall failure here, and we subsequently lost a lot of personnel, a non-executive director, the managing director, who asked Ken to return to the fold because only he could sort out the mess. And finally, around about here, the chairman resigned as well. So suffice to say, I don't think these guys did us too many favours. At that time, we had debt of US $28 million, and Ken said he could and would fix things, and indeed he did, because here you can see, and I'll show you shortly, some operational improvement that we achieved. Yet despite that 18 months of quite a turnaround, the share price has remained essentially flat. I mentioned the operational improvement that we'd achieved, and that's illustrated in this chart. So left-hand axis, those numbers are gold production, and the blue bars illustrate the gold production. So you can see March, June, September quarters, Ken managed to get the gold production well up above 20,000 ounces per quarter, which was a hell of an achievement. The green line represents the spot gold price, and the red line there represents the AISC. So you want the red line well below the green line. And you can see in these months here, these 3 quarters, the cost came way down. In fact, for this quarter here, $7.20 an ounce, we made a lot of money those 3 quarters, around about US 22 million, which we applied towards debt reduction. But the key takeaway from this slide is that when the head grade is around about 2.3 grams per tonne, we essentially break even. But as soon as the grade increases to 3.3 grams per tonne, we make quite a lot of money. In fact, around US 2 million per month. So since last year, when the board changed, what has been and what is the board's focus? Well, we set out to stabilise the board, and we did that. We set out to increase gold production, and we did that. As we set out to reduce operating costs, and we did that. We've almost eliminated bank debt, with debt down to US 5.2 million, with 22 million repaid. Creditors are still a little high, but very manageable. But the key focus for us, with a very short mine life in reserves, is to make a discovery. And I'm going to talk shortly about Ohio Creek, our new discovery. This is a very messy slide. What it shows is our pits and prospects. Up the top are pits, down below greenfield opportunities, and everything in between. And the key takeaway here is there are lots of names in the boxes. We've got lots of work to do, and that's a good position to be in. So, as I said earlier, Troy requires a new discovery. Unfortunately, our ground position is substantial and highly prospective, and yet we've only ever spent around US $6 million on exploration, and most of it down here near the mill, never up here. And why have we only ever spent US $6 million? Well, with so much debt to be repaid, with all of our free cash flow has been applied up till now towards debt reduction. So this is really interesting up here. You can see the red dots represent alluvial workings, and the black lines represent structural trends. And there's 3 key takeaways here. The first is there are red dots everywhere. This ground is very, very heavily endowed with gold. It's absolutely everywhere. Secondly, you can see how the red dots line up with the black lines. So the locals have done exploration for us. And the third thing you can see is that our 4 key targets all sit nicely within the red dots and the structural trends. So let me show you a couple of photos. On the left, a very typical area photo of all the rivers and streams in the general vicinity, and you can see how the stream has been totally worked over. As I said, there is gold everywhere, so much so that when I saw my geo recently, when we were on site, he said to me that the week previously he was a gold star. He put his hand into some river gravels, pulled it out, looked at it, and there was a flake of gold. And that's just so typical of the area. On the right-hand side, we see a bag of flaky alluvial gold from Upper Ataki. Now, Upper Ataki is really interesting because the Guyanese government some time back did a survey of all the stream sediments for the whole of Guyana, and Upper Ataki was shown to have the highest gold in stream sediments out of the whole lot. And yet, and it's difficult to believe, but not a single hole has ever been drilled there. And so we'll get to there shortly. So I mentioned earlier our Ohio Creek prospect, which is where all the excitement is at the current time. When we acquired Azimuth and acquired the Karooni project in 2013, we identified this as something we would need to pick up as soon as we possibly could. It sits only 10 k's from the Karooni mill. And what's unique about this place is, whereas most of the work undertaken by the Guyanese people is in alluvial streams and gravels and so forth, here, as you can see, they've built a substantial pit. It's more than 100 metres long, more than 70 metres wide, and it says they're 25 metres deep. It's a little bit deeper than that now. But clearly the reason why they've gone to all this effort is because they've found a hell of a lot of gold. And that has us pretty excited. So the reason why they're selling now, well, it's owned by three fellows, as I might have mentioned. The oldest of them is now 92 years old, and the other two guys are well into their 80s. So I think they've decided enough is enough. Now, this area has only been the subject before Troy of one modern program, and that was undertaken in 1995 by a company called Cathedral Gold. They drilled 1,300 odd metres, and they had a best assay of 868 grams per tonne. So some pretty incredible gold values. So this diagram, again, is going to be very difficult for you to read, but it shows, so as I said, we purchased Ohio Creek in September. We started drilling in October, and already we've had some quite amazing hits. So the Tallman pit, which I showed you before, is just here, and you can see right now we're saying that the strike length from here down to here is already 800 metres. And some of the hits are outstanding. Our very first hole, for instance, which was 200 metres away from the pit, 16 metres at 10 grams per tonne from 2 metres deep, so it's essentially sticking out of the ground. Hole 7, multiple intersections of up to 23 grams per tonne from 37 metres. Hole 13, 9 metres at 41 grams per tonne from 89 metres. Hole 25, multiple intersections up to 40 grams per tonne. Hole 29, multiple intersections up to 34. These assays are substantially better than anything we ever got from Smarts and Hicks, and the widths are substantially better. And that said, there's no doubt that the geology is complex, and we really need to get a diamond drill rig in there to have a good handle on the mineralisation. But for now, the thing looks open in all directions and is very encouraging. So here's a cross-section. You can see here hole 1, this big hit, 16 metres at 10 grams per tonne. Here's an interpretation, whether that's right or not sure, but that's what we're sticking with for now. We'll know more very shortly because we have a diamond drill rig going on site next week. So what are we currently doing? Well, at Ohio Creek, we're waiting on 18 assays. In the next month or so, we're going to be drilling another 50 RC holes. We have the diamond drill rig arriving that's going to unlock all the secrets. But notwithstanding that there's still some work to do, we've actually committed to building the haul road from the Karooni mill to Ohio Creek, and we've applied for a mining licence. So you can probably tell we have a pretty high level of confidence that we've got something there. We're also doing work at Gem Creek and Gold Star. So the key question is, and the reason I expect you're all here is Troy a good buy at current levels? Well, let me say this. There are many companies presenting here that are in production, perhaps a good investment for shareholders seeking low risk, low return. Then there are exploration companies, might be great for investors with a bigger risk appetite seeking higher returns. We're a bit of a hybrid. I think we're better considered an exploration play, We have all the upside of an exploration stock, but less risks maybe, and that we are already operating. We have all the permits, all the team, all the know-how, and with the plant already in place, no need to raise capital for development. As to current pricing, we saw from the slide earlier that at 3.3 grams per tonne, we make around $2 million a month. I expect Ohio Creek, if it proves up, is going to be more like 5 or 6 grams per tonne. We're going to make a lot of money every month. And with a market cap currently of 50 million Aussie, I can see that that market cap will be more than could potentially be covered by Ohio Creek less than a year, and that means we'd get the rest of Ohio Creek for free, as well as Gem Creek, Gold Star and Upper Ataki. In other words, I showed you earlier the share price chart since we took over. You saw a fairly flat line. I actually think it's much better buying now than it was then. The Aussie dollar gold price is up around 20%. Our debt is down from 27 million to 5 million. Lost my train of thought. And so are the shares good buying? Well, all I can say is I participated in the current share purchase plan at 10.5 cents with my ears pinned back. Thanks very much.